Hey guys, my name's Nell. Today we'll be doing an all-over body workout on the reformer. I've been teaching these programs for 15 years and they successfully progress you through the Pilates repertoire. I really hope you enjoy. Now let's get started. 1.5 or 2 springs on. If you want it strong, put 2. 1.5 is enough for me. And then we're doing plies in a high lift with the heels on the bar in parallel. Maybe grab a tennis ball if you've got that available to keep your inside thighs engaged. Put the headrest down because we are going to be lifting the pelvis up, so you don't want your head lifted. It just takes the pressure off your neck. So in a neutral pelvis and spine, lift your pelvis up. You press out until your pelvis touches the carriage and then you draw the carriage back in, lifting your pelvis up. As you push out, the pelvis goes down. As you draw in, the pelvis goes up. So we're trying to move your pelvis and spine, keeping the pelvis and spine very still in neutral. As you push out, you lower. As you pull in, you lift. So we're actually moving from around the knee joints. This is fantastic for stabilizing your torso, strengthening your torso, pelvic stability. Really fantastic for strengthening the back of the legs. As you draw in, try and reach out and then lower the pelvis down in a neutral position. Toes on the bar in parallel, exactly the same thing in parallel, sit bone width apart. I like to use a tennis ball. Lift your legs up. If you don't have a tennis ball, just imagine that that's there. As you push out, you're feeling the light tap of your pelvis against the carriage. And then reach the inside thighs away from you. Lengthen through your body and then reach the knees away from the hips. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, return. We're doing about 10 of these. Keeping the heels parallel, check into those. So press into your big toe joints so that you're not externally rotating your legs. You want your legs in parallel. Check into your neck and your upper shoulders. Make sure that you're not tensing and hunching through the upper body. And then lowering the pelvis in neutral. Get rid of the tennis ball. Put your feet in a V position, which is Pilates Stance. So heels together, toes apart, knees apart. Lifting up, exactly the same thing, but now we're in V position with the feet. Press the heels together. Reach the knees over the toes. The knees will be slightly apart, but your heels, once again, are very much so pressing together to work your adductors. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, return. With each push out, you're trying to stretch through your posture. With each pull in, try and reach the knees away from your shoulders and your hips. So you're creating this length through the front of your body, through the front of the hips. And then lower and return. Well done. Put the headrest up. If that's not comfortable for you, put it down. Rises and prances in a V position. So keep your feet in the V position, lower the heels down, lift them up. We're doing 10 of these. Keep pressing the heels together. And the bone on the inside of your ankle, try not to touch the bone as you lower the heels down. Only lower the heels down within a range that the bone of the inside of the ankle does not touch. And what that will do, it will really help you wrap and deeply connect to those deep hip muscles. Now into prances in a V position. So the heels touch here, then the heel lowers. The legs are still in that slight rotation, so the toes are apart, the heels together. So you're doing a prance position with that slight external rotation. Now try and squeeze the heels together at the top and then return to the start position. Bring your legs into parallel. Develope with an opening, toes parallel, right foot in line with your sit bone, left leg extended out. Bend the left leg, extend it out, open the leg to the side, lift it, bend, and then reach it over the bar. Breathe out, in, out, in, out, in. We're doing anywhere between 6 to 10 of these. The challenge is to open your leg up without your hips moving at all. not even 0.5 millimeter of movement. So don't worry about how wide and open the leg goes. Focus more on the pelvis. So only open the leg out within a range that the pelvis stays very square to the ceiling. You've really got to work your obliques here and the supporting leg. So contract the back of that supporting leg, the sit bone muscle, the hamstring. Then switching sides. So left foot in line with your sit bone. Put your hands on your hips and then extend up. Now only open it out within a range that the pelvis stays very still. Excellent pelvic stability exercise. This will help you strengthen the muscles around your lower back and your pelvis and your core. So pelvic stability is moving your limbs without your pelvis moving. Once again, only open the leg out within a range, even if it's just a couple of centimeters. Mine goes quite low, but only because I'm able to do that without rotating and letting the hips rotate with the leg. I'm really working my supporting leg, particularly at the back, really working my obliques. And, you know, if you're not sure if your hips are moving, put your hands on your pelvis, on those bony protrusions in your pelvis, and make sure that they're staying very still as you move. Liza with lower and lift. Heels are in external rotation in line with your pubic bone, navel and nose. You extend the legs out, you lower and lift the leg and then return. Breathing out to lift, breathing in to lower, breathing out to lift and return. Okay, so your heels, both of them are moving in line with your spine. Your legs are in external rotation. The left heel is hovering above the right heel there. Keeping the pelvis very stable, keep the lower back still in a neutral position, and then we'll swap sides. So I like to feel the connection through the back of the supporting leg. So as you push out, really feel the supporting leg, the muscles at the back there, like the sit bones drawing towards the thigh. The muscles are contracting, keep them switched on to help you stabilize through the pelvis and to keep the supporting leg in external rotation. The lower abdominals are not to puff out at all, so that we're using transversus abdominis to stabilize your lumbopelvic region. And we do, about 6 to 10. Don't get too caught up in the reps. Okay, so now we're changing the spring, 1.5 or 1 spring. You can experiment with that. If you want it strong, 1.5. If you want it a little lighter, then 1. We're about to do some abdominal work. So hundreds with a lower and a lift. Grab hold of the straps, make sure that you're lying straight, pubic bone, navel and nose all in one line. Start with the hands above your shoulders so the carriage will be away from the stopper. Knees are up in a tabletop, neutral pelvis. So you're lifting up and then hundreds. You're lowering the legs, you're lifting the legs. Lowering them on the out breath, lifting them on the in breath. You're doing about 10 of these, which is hundreds. Breathing out through the mouth, breathing in through the nose. The pelvis is in neutral. So there's a little hollow in the lower back, the tailbone is down. Your deep abdominals and your pelvic floor are stabilizing those areas. Press the feet together to activate the inside thighs and the back of the legs and reach the inside thighs away from your pubic bone. Return back to the stopper, have a little rest. Traditional coordination. So when you're ready, elbows in line with your rib cage and off the carriage, knees up into tabletop. You lift your head and your chest up, extend the arms and legs out, open and close the legs and then return. We're doing anywhere between 6 to 10 of these. Keep your pelvis in neutral. Each time you straighten your arms and your legs, you're trying to lift your forehead up just a millimeter more, and then you maintain that so that you're building the endurance in your abdominals to hold your chest up. Have a little rest. A few deep breaths, and now we're going into Nutcracker. So the start position, your thumbs and your index fingers are touching, your legs are up in external rotation. You open your legs as you lift your head and your chest up. Anywhere between 6 to 10 of these, just do what you can. Reach your hands towards the bar. keep your legs in rotation. So you're really squeezing the kneecaps up, you're really wrapping the thighs, pressing the heels together when the legs extend up to the ceiling. Using your abdominals to press the hands into the straps. Well done. Have a little breather. And then we're going to do one last abdominal. Actually, there's two more. We'll do butterfly. So start position, arms and legs are up. Open your arms and legs out to the side. You're going to lift your head and your chest up, arms and legs draw into the center line. Pull your hands in towards your thigh bones. Draw your heels together. Breathing out to lift up, breathing in to return. Flex the feet, point the feet, return. Anywhere between 6 to 10 of these. Lumbopelvic stability, keeping the little hollow in the lower back and the deep abdominals stabilizing you. Have a little rest. And then we're going into oblique butterflies. So the start position, your arms and your legs are up towards the ceiling. The bed is away from the stopper so your lats are engaged. Open the legs and the arms. Now lift up, cross your left leg over your right, and then return to the start position. Then cross your right leg over your left. You reach your hands towards your top thigh, so you're rotating. You reach your hands towards your top thigh. So if your left leg is over, your right shoulder is up. If your right leg is over, your left shoulder is up. Move the hands from engaging the armpit muscles. Flex the feet, point. Breathe out through the straw, breathe in through the nose. Now you can't reach through your limbs long enough. Anywhere between 6 to 10 of those, and then have a little rest. Well done. We're about to go into feet and straps. Get the balls ready and by your side. I like to prop them up. Actually, usually I have a magic circle on the box that I can then position the balls in so they don't roll around, but you can work it out, you'll sort it out. So you have those balls ready. Ideally, a triad ball and then a smaller Pilates ball and then a tennis ball. So we've got 3 balls, different sizes. If you don't have balls, just use a tennis ball. If you don't have a tennis ball, just do this without the tennis balls. So we've got about 1.5 springs on, and you've got your feet in the straps. Grab the big triad ball and then put it in between your heels. It's not resting on top of the heels, it's actually poised between the heel bones. Okay, so you extend out, breathe out to extend out, breathing in to return. Neutral pelvis, neutral spine, scapula set back. The legs are in external rotation, and try and lengthen the ball a little bit further away from your pubic bone with each straightening of the legs. Resist on the way in. It's a pelvic stability exercise. Definitely strengthens the adductors, which are anti-gravity muscles for your posture. So 10 of those, and then switch the balls. Put the medium-sized ball between the heels. And the challenge is to keep your pelvis in neutral, to keep the ball from rolling around. So you want to make sure that you're activating and firing both of those inside thighs evenly. If you're doing it evenly, then the ball will stay very still. If one inside thigh is weaker than the other, then the ball will roll. Breathing out through the straw, breathing in through the nose, squeeze the kneecaps, bend the knees, and then switching. Like I said before, if you don't have these balls, then you can just do it without, okay? And you'll end up doing 30 of these. Fantastic for the inside thigh strength. Okay, neutral pelvis, tailbone down, little hollow in the lower back. But you're feeling that zip of the pelvic floor up, feeling the lift of your abdominals up. It's quite challenging with a tennis ball in between the heels. Often people have their heels together and then the tennis ball on top. That's basically cheating, okay? So make sure that the tennis ball is actually in between the heel bones. I'm doing this quite fast, okay? If you need to slow this down, then obviously just do what you can. And then we're going into beats. So you start with your legs in parallel, knees and feet together. You straighten your legs 1, you open and close them 2, and then return 3. The legs are together, then they separate, and then return. Now they only separate within a range that you keep the carriage very still. Okay, activating the inside thighs by reaching the legs away from you, reaching now will help you stabilize. And it's an interesting, this one slowly creeps in. Initially you think it doesn't work, but it will, okay, and you'll feel it now in rotation, so with frog. So they're called beats with frog. So you're going to reach out and in, and then return. Straighten the legs, keep lengthening through the inside thighs, and you only open the legs out within a range that the carriage stays still. And hopefully you really start to feel the inside thighs here. Now we're going into diamond frog plus reverse. The legs are straight and in parallel. Lift the legs up, turn the legs out, bend the knees, keep the carriage still, extend the legs out to the side, pause there for a breath, and then draw straight legs over the bar in external rotation. Point the toes back into parallel. Lift the legs up, inhale, turn them out, exhale. Inhale, bend the knees, open the legs out, keeping the carriage still, pause and lengthen, and then push from the sit bones through to the heels. Draw the legs into parallel, back of the legs engaged. Deep hip muscles, turn the legs out. Keep the deep hip up muscles engaged as you bend. Keep them engaged as you open. The carriage should stay still there, and then the carriage will move as you draw your legs together. Lengthen through the legs as you draw them into parallel. And then we'll reverse it. Hinge the legs away. Externally rotate the legs. Open the legs out. Keep the carriage still. Bend the knees. Draw the feet together. Keep the external rotation. Carriage stays still. Extend the legs up. Bring them into parallel. Lengthen as you hinge. Turn the legs out. Open the legs out. Now keep the carriage still. Bend the knees. So we're working the back of the legs. And then deep external rotators. Extend. And then bring them into parallel. Reach the legs away. Turn the legs out. The carriage moves here. Now keep the carriage still. Bend the knees. Reach the leg up. Externally rotate. Now bring them into parallel and then reach the legs away. Beautiful exercise for those deep hip muscles. We're doing short spinal, a traditional version. Start with the feet in frog. Extend the legs out, make sure the headrest is down. Bring the legs up and over as you lift the pelvis up. So as the carriage hits the stopper, you want to be up on your shoulders. Bending your knees towards the shoulder rests, roll, and then extend out. The legs are in external rotation the whole time. Keep the legs, lift the hips up. Carriage hits as you are up on your shoulders, as you arrive on your shoulders, rolling down. Reach the legs out. So as the legs lift up, we're lifting the pelvis up straight away. So you've got to use your abdominals to lift the pelvis up. The back of the legs are firmly engaged as well to help with that motion of arriving on your shoulders as the carriage hits the stopper. Back of the legs are engaged. Deep abdominals are lifting your pelvis up. Bending the knees. And then articulating, keeping that connection between the heels and the tailbone. And lift the pelvis up now as the bed hits the stopper, the shoulder blades, you arrive on the shoulders, rolling and then reaching out. Anywhere between 6 to 8 of these. Lift the hips up, 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 up. Keeping transversus deeply engaged. Hollow out the belly. And then keep the connection between the heels and the tailbone as you roll through your spine. Have a little rest. You can grab hold of the straps, and then we're going to take your feet out of the straps. We're going to do a spring change. We're doing long spinal now, and you'll need to change the spring so it's 1 1/4 or 2 I've got 1 1/4 on. I find too strong. I don't need to, you'll have to experiment depending on your strength and your flexibility. Start with 1 1/4, but if you can't control the carriage, then move to 2. So we start in a diagonal position with the legs are parallel and together. Now bring them up over your hips. Keep the carriage still. You're going to articulate through your spine up onto your shoulders. Turn the legs out, separate them shoulder width apart, roll down through the spine, keeping the carriage still. The legs are apart in an external rotation. Then hinge the legs away from you, draw them together into parallel to the start position. Legs lever up above your hips. Keep the carriage still. Articulate through your spine using the back of the legs and the abdominals. Keep the carriage still. Externally rotate. Separate the legs. Roll down through the spine, keeping the carriage still. And then once your pelvis touches, hinge the legs away, draw them into parallel. We do about 3 in one direction, 3 in the other. Hinge the legs away, we're reversing it. Turn the legs out. Hinge the legs away, turn the legs out, lift your legs up. The legs are in external rotation and apart. Articulate through your spine with the legs apart and in external rotation up onto your shoulders. Draw the legs together, draw them into parallel. Roll down through the spine, controlling the equipment with the back of the legs and the abdominals, and then hinge the legs away. Externally rotate the legs, turn them out. Separate them, lift them up. Roll through your spine using the hamstrings and your abdominals to lift up, keeping the carriage still. So you need to push the feet into the straps enough to hold you there, but without moving the carriage. And then rolling through the spine, hinge the legs away. If you need to have a little rest, just pause. It's a really intense exercise. And then we'll take your feet out of the straps. Doing some arm work. We're going to get rid of the box. I like to work with a light spring here so that you use the deep, correct muscles rather than your neck and your upper shoulder. I like to work with 1/4 of a spring on. If that is too light for you, then you might want to go a 3/4 spring. So quite light. We start kneeling up and you start you start with your knees against the shoulder rests. Okay, and you're holding on to the strap with your outside hand. Pull the hand up towards your shoulder, reach the arm out, hand back to shoulder and then towards the opposite hip. Hand to shoulder, reach, hand to shoulder, hip. Back of the arm, scapular stability. So you want to move your arm, keeping your scapula, your right scapula really nipped flat, keeping square through your torso as well, so really working the obliques. I like to work the inside thighs here as well by thinking of drawing the knees in towards one another. And then hug a tree. You're going to draw your hands together. It's not a very big range. And this really tests your torso stability, strengthening your chest muscles and your front shoulder muscles on that left side as you draw your hands together. Keep lifting up and out of your pelvis. Breathing out through the mouth, in through the nose. Anywhere between 6 to 10. Now triceps, put your left hand on the shoulder rest, move your knees away and then flip your elbow up. Beautiful stretch through the hip muscles and the side muscles there, pushing your hands down into the shoulder rest, pushing your top arm up towards the ceiling. Keep those upper shoulders, the upper trapezius muscles soft by thinking of rotating and laterally widening the shoulder blades at the back there. The target area is the tricep, and anywhere between 6 to 10 of these, keeping both hip bones square to the front. Then we're going into double arms, so holding on with your inside hand, reaching up above your head and then back out. Breathing out to lift, breathing in to return. The challenge here is to not use your upper trapezius, your upper shoulder muscles. So as you draw your hands up above your shoulders, keep the collarbones dropping down. Moving your hands from your deep abdominals, lifting up out of the pelvic floor, stabilizing your lower back with those deep abdominals by drawing your waist in a notch, anywhere between 6 to 10, and then torso twist. You're rotating and then return. Keep the hands in line with your chest and make sure you're rotating around your torso as opposed to just moving your arms left and right. So actually you're bracing through the arms and it's your abdominals that are moving you. Your shoulders are rotating to one diagonal and then to the other, not by pulling and moving your arms, but by contracting your waist muscles. With every twist, think of lifting up and out of your body and maintaining that height. Then we do the other side. So turn around, we want the knee against the shoulder rest for the first two exercises. And you grab hold of the strap with your outside hand. The hand goes from the hip, the right hip, to the left shoulder, and then straight out, and then to the shoulder, and then back to the hip. Using the shoulder blade muscle, and then the arm muscle, and then returning. Of course, all of the movement is coming from activating the pelvic floor and deep abdominals. The challenge is to stay really square through your torso. Anywhere between 6 to 10 of these, really feeling those shoulder blade muscles at the back there working. And using your arm rather than like twisting around through your torso to do the movement. Hug a tree, it's quite a small movement and it'll really throw your balance here. Feeling your deep abdominals, stabilizing your lumbosacral area, firing up the pelvic floor to help you lift up and out of your pelvis, and then using your chest muscles and your front arm muscle to move. Then we go into tricep. Put your right hand on the shoulder rest, move away, and then flip your left palm up. Elbow goes straight up, and then press your pelvis forward and your shoulders back. Pressing the left arm up. The palm is up towards the ceiling, dropping the collarbones away. Make sure that that right arm, looking down towards the shoulder rest there, make sure that right arm isn't hunched up towards your ear. Keep stabilizing by activating that right side. Breathing out through the straw, breathing in through the nose. Such a nice stretch. And then we go into double arms. So the arms go over your head like a ballerina doing a pirouette. The challenge here is to raise the arms up above your head without using your upper trapezius muscles. So we want to try and stabilize and use the muscles underneath your shoulder blades to laterally rotate the shoulder blades. So you use those muscles to move rather than the neck and the upper shoulders. Once again, anywhere between 6 to 10 of these. Then we go into twist. So your hands are in line with your chest and then you twist through the torso. So here you can see I'm keeping my arms and my chest that same relationship as I rotate left and right. So my arms are not moving separate to my chest. I'm keeping them connected there and I'm twisting and rotating through my waist using my obliques. Keep your hips square to the wall that you're facing and keep lifting up and out of your pelvis. So finishing off there. So how did you go? I really hope you enjoyed that workout. I'm looking forward to taking you through my next video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date and get notified when it's released. If you did enjoy the workout, tapping the like button is always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and remember, movement is medicine.